Okay. So, hey, welcome to Road to Recovery. I am your host. This is Zen Quinn, real name Quentin. I brought a friend with me. Introduce yourself.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I am Lamar, aka LJ. What's going on, folks?
All right, so we're here. I thought it would be a great idea to get some viewpoints from somebody who's been um, a big part of my network, a great friend with a lot of knowledge. We call them predecessors, but us young folks just call them old.
Or dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. I like that one. All right. So Lamar, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So once again, I am LJ. I have 8 years clean. Clean date is February 23rd, 13. So that means I have 8 years and ooh, 10 months and a couple of days. So I'm literally knocking on the door of another anniversary. To God be the glory.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I appreciate it. What I do now for work, I do work for the government and also the Department of Health. I'm doing HIV prevention for the LGBT community. So that's me.
That is Lamar in a nutshell. So tell us a little bit about how you got to NA and like where you are now.
Got you. So one thing I definitely want to say before I even take off, I definitely want to say this as a disclaimer. Narcotics Anonymous is not affiliated with what he is doing and what I am talking about, even though I do not have a problem with telling my story on a wide frame, but also understand that in our traditions it states that as well. We do not promote anything outside of Narcotics Anonymous, nor is there any promotion. It's all about attraction rather than promotion. So that is a disclaimer. But how did I get here? I understood that my life had become unmanageable. I'm not even going to go into the war story on what actually happened. Just know that I literally had to experience my own experience, which took me to the end of the roads where I can only make a choice, and that was to either survive or kill myself. And with that being said, I chose to live, and I'm standing here with 8 years clean. I had to get the desperation that allowed me to do something different.
Yeah, and I just also want to touch bases on what he did say about not promoting NA. I definitely do agree that I don't want, like I always state in my other videos, I don't want anybody to take my actions as NA's action because I'm human. I have the ability to fail, and that's all a part of my journey. That has nothing to do with the Narcotics Anonymous program or its ability to change millions of people's lives, and it has already. Um, I do love the program. As you can see, I'm wearing a hoodie. I got it on Amazon because I love it. I feel like God saved my life and it maintains my life. And how can I not have so much gratitude and share that with the world with the things that has been helpful to me? Like I said in other videos, there are other programs, other 12-step programs. There are other avenues of being clean.
Absolutely.
I've had friends who quit cold turkey, that works for them. I have friends who went to church, that works for them. I went to friends who went to therapy, works for them. That's all fine and dandy, but this works for me. And since it's working for me and this is my journey, I'm sharing it with the world.
Yes.
So Lamar, we're gonna just go ahead and check in just for today. How are you feeling today? What's like some of the struggles that you like face as a person who have multiple years, like, or anything that you would like to share with us today?
So I guess just a quick check-in, correct?
Yeah.
How I feel today, December the 6th, I feel amazing. And once again, I'm above ground, so it's always a great day above ground. It's always a great day not to be using. It's always a great day to have a willingness to do something different in my day-to-day life. Like when Quentin talked about how Narcotics Anonymous is like the vehicle, right? It's the vehicle to maintain a sane life today, because for me, like, it's literally just a vehicle to get back to God. And I understand that today, even with 8 years clean, some things that I do suffer with or have an issue with is my thoughts. See, because my disease lies in between my head, and it can easily tell me really quick, like, hey, you can just go. You ain't even got to smoke crack. You ain't even got to smoke crack. Like, you can take a hit. Just roll your little spliff. Or you ain't even got to drink alcohol. Drink some wine.
Right.
You know, just a little sip here and there. But those are some things that I wrestle with even with 8 years clean. And I do understand today that we not only wrestle against flesh and blood,
Right.
but also the principalities.
Right.
So to God be the glory for that.
Awesome. So a quick check-in with me is in Quinn. I am about 80 days clean, somewhere more or less. My sponsor is about to start having me work steps coming up soon, and I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna be celebrating 90 days. I literally thought that was like gonna take forever. It was like 90 days, 90 meetings in 90 days. How the hell? But once I surrendered to the program and incorporated it inside of my life and made it a part of my life, it became a lot easier. And then with this whole thing of turning your will over to God, all that burden and holding it on myself, it didn't feel that way anymore. Like the days were dragging by. I literally walked through them, and God has opened up so many doors for me to kind of escape the minute by minute feeling of 90 days that it has passed by so smoothly. So before I start working steps, I wanted to, because in our book, the steps are in the chapter 4, and I just wanted to breeze over a couple of chapters inside of the book that come before working the steps, because we will start my step journey into my recovery videos a little later. And who's more perfect than to have been my friend who has done a couple videos himself outside of these videos. You want to tell them about or some of the names of the video where they can find you?
So I was able to be a part of an amazing docu-film called Outrun the Sky. It talks about the journey of 5 African-American gay men of the South, and we come from the high-fi prevalent areas in the South, Miami being number 1, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, Atlanta, and definitely New Orleans. So we basically just talk about our journey and how we actually found out that we were positive, our stories today, what it feels like and how it was pertaining to stigma, suicide, barriers in the community. Definitely those type of things we definitely talk about in the movie. Now, also being though as it may, I was able to be a part of an archives docu-film, I guess you can call it, just a couple of months ago, probably a month or two ago. I was able to have an archive film recorded to be placed in the historic Hampton House located here in Miami, Florida.
Right. So last thing before we hop into this good stuff, I think Lamar should tell us just a little bit about the program that he works for, the services that he offers. If you live in the Miami area, you might could utilize some of these services. It's a great program.
Absolutely. So the organization that I do work for is called Empower You Community Health Center. And the program that I oversee is called Empowerment Project. And the M in the Empowerment stands for Men's Empowerment Movement or Men's Empowerment Project. And what I do here, I provide a safe space for the LGBT community located here in Miami, Florida, to have safe conversations and to provide them with a safe space to let them know that it is okay to talk about stigma, barriers, sex work, trafficking. You understand what I'm saying? Because you will not have those conversations with your good girlfriend. Hey, I just did this and I just did that without judgment. So in here, what we do, or what I do, me and my staff, we provide a safe space for the community to definitely come in. Now we're located on 7900 Northwest 27th Avenue, right in Miami, Florida, Suite C3A. If you do not know where that is in Miami, or just would like some information about the agency as a whole, you can definitely follow us at www.euchc.org, which stands for Empower You Community Health Center.org.
They also have a focus group on
Wednesdays, every Wednesday between 6:30 and 9:30 here at that same location, 7900 Northwest 27th Avenue, Suite 3A, C3A. And basically that community that I was talking about, that safe space or that safe haven, that's where we talk more into depth about those things that hinders us in the community. We talk on a wide variety scale about what it is and how it affects others.
All right, so that's why I love to have this guy around. So much information,
Thank you.
doing so much
Appreciate it.
good work inside of the community
Mhm.
for the LGBT and also for men and women of the straight cisgender community as well.
Well, cisgender.
He taught me that word. All right, so who's an addict? Okay. I'm just gonna read the opening things that we read inside of the meetings, and we'll just discuss those. It says most of us do not have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and think it was sitting around drugs in one form or another. They get it in using and finding ways to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are the people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same. What are they?
Jails, institutions, and death.
Jails, institutions, and death. Oh my! So when you first came to the program, what did you think about that? Who's an addict? How do you feel about
it? Listen, no, to tell you the truth, I didn't feel like I was an addict, and especially going through the whole treatment process and ending up here where I'm at right now. I did not think that I had a problem. I didn't think that I was an addict. I just thought, because my whole thing was I did so many things outside of just the alcohol and the weed, right? Like, and I remember being given an ultimatum: if you go to treatment and start smoking crack, you can come back and stay in my house. You can smoke and drink everything that you want to, and you have a roof underneath your head. And I was like, oh, like you had already sold me there. The guy that I was talking to at the time, he had sold me. But it was in that moment in treatment that I understood exactly what I needed to do. I understood the assignment then. And the assignment was to be honest, not only with me, but also with you guys as well. Because in order for me to move forward, I had to have some honesty and the willingness to tell the truth. Nothing but the truth, so help me God. And that truth was, I was not only an addict, I was a recovering addict that had a problem with manipulating, lying, conniving, stealing, using, and everything else underneath that umbrella of what addiction can take us to. So then once I began to become honest with that story, then there was some healing that actually entered into the room and said, well, now you can go ahead and continue your journey because you just became honest with yourself, which is the most important thing that it is.
Honesty is so important, and
which is also our first principle in the first step.
There we go. Honesty is so important, and I feel like a lot of addicts, just like Lamar shared, face that denial at first. I remember being in addiction and didn't have a problem with calling myself an addict. Like, I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm on it. I'm an addict. I'm on it. I'm with it, fiend, and all that kind of stuff. Like, but once I came to Camilla's house to go to a program, and they start talking about people being addicts, I quickly disassociated myself with them. Like, oh, they've lost all their stuff. They're eating out of garbage cans. They're homeless, this, and that. And I'm not there yet. I'm just partying. I'm just having fun. Not looking at the facts that I was prostituting. I was lying and stealing. I was doing all kind of bad things that I wouldn't do normally. I was randomly having sex with multiple guys at one point in time, putting my body out there, destroying my body. I contracted an HIV because of along with my addiction, because of my addiction, however it happened. But if I was clear-headed, I would have made better decisions. And because I wasn't, I didn't. So I was not looking at the similarities. I was focusing on the differences. But when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, they said something like, in desperation, we seek help. And I was desperate for something to help me. My schizophrenia was through the roof. I was on my way to losing everything. I had lost every friend that I had. My family situation was on the thread. And it was almost to that point that I had just become what they call not yets. All my not yets, I was just on the verge of just doing all those things that I was looking down on others about. So I was desperate for this. I was like, yep, that's me. Sign me up. Where do I sign? And the only thing I needed to do to join was to have a desire to stop using. And that was a great thing to hear.
Absolutely.
So you want to hit the why are we here?
Why are we here? Which is a great question. And to tell you the truth, before we even go into that, why are we here? Like I said, I could definitely relate to what Quentin was talking about. Quentin was talking about the not identifying, because I didn't have those not yet. I wasn't pushing the buggies. I wasn't eating out of the garbage can. But, and even to the fact where I was homeless, I wasn't physically homeless, but someone told me, Nigga, you was homeless. You didn't have a key to your own house.
Nigga, I was in Camilla's house, and I'm sitting here saying, "Oh, I'm not like them."
Right. You know, so I definitely had to understand the purpose of who an addict was
Right.
or is, and then why are we here? And to tell you the truth,
Well,
I was here.
I'm sorry, but why do you think we do that as addicts? Why do you think we
disassociate
ourselves?
Because of the main factor is the now. We don't want to identify ourselves or make ourselves look bad, and it's not the feeling of being bad. It's just the feeling or the understanding to say, well, I had bad experiences. To have to take me down a rough road and a rough patch. Well, now I'm starting to recover. That's why folks in the community or even in the program will definitely say, I'm no longer an addict, I'm a recovering addict, because there's a change. So eventually we change the way that we start thinking about ourselves, and now we can associate ourselves with the addict mentality.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I had a problem.
Right.
Which is the number one thing, is the admittance part.
The first step is admitting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So why are we here? Before coming to the Fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, our husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people a great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction we were slowly committing suicide, but addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us
ended up in
jails, sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods were sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until, in desperation, we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized that we were sick people.
Getting better.
We suffer from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested, and at some point, and recovery is then possible.
What I want to say before you even go to the next part is, what I just said is like I just ad-libbed and just said what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
We don't add or take away from the literature.
Right.
So usually when people say that, I be like, shut up. Like, that ain't what the book say, that ain't what the literature say, you know what I mean? So I get it. In desperation, we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. And that's exactly what it was. Like, it tells me exactly what it was right there, because and I was creating my own problem because my inability to accept what I was going through. I actually created a problem. They talk about it in our Just for the Day. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's a Just for the Day in January, talking about making mountains out of molehills. We create our own problems. And because we like chaos. Right. I don't know about anybody else, but I like chaos.
Love the toxicness.
Absolutely. So just thinking outside of the box by us creating the mountain out of molehill, it's literally saying, well, this is who you is. And through my inability to accept personal responsibility, I definitely created my own problems, because I didn't want to accept that I was I didn't want to face reality that I was being in an abusive relationship. I didn't want to face reality to say that Lamar, you was a stripper, you was a porn star, you escorted, you did everything underneath the sun that I mentioned earlier. So I was, of course, escaping all of that. So of course I needed to get high.
Right. My favorite part in that was that hold on 1 second, lost my footing. Was that most of us realized that in our addiction we were slowly committing suicide. I remember coming back from my relapse. I had went around some old friends, and I had been getting high for a few days, and I became an intravenous user, but I didn't know how to do it myself. So I would have other people to do it for me. And I came to this guy's house. We had been friends for a while, and we were using together, and he asked me if I wanted to intravenously use, and he put it in, but I could tell that he was not in the right area, and it probably was too much or whatever, but I just had a feeling that this could be it. This could be the one that took me out. And the scariest part about that feeling was that I wanted it. I wanted it. Like, I didn't care, regardless if it was going to kill me or not. I wanted it. I can feel it inside of me begging for that, just to push it. And that scared me. It says that it says that it's such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost power to do anything about it. I couldn't say stop. I couldn't say don't do it. I couldn't say you're in the wrong part. Like, you're not in where you should be at. Like, I couldn't say none of that. I just closed my eyes and waited for that moment. And they say this a lot. God does for us what we can't do for ourselves. The God was like, I can't do it, and He just took it out. And I eventually left, and I eventually came back to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, and that's where I sought help at. Anything you want to add about that?
No. I listen. Don't mind me, because
Good.
we are like
He is working.
Office, so, yeah.
He is working. Always working. So finally, we're going to talk about what is the NA NA program, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's pretty long. I'll just read the first paragraph. It says, NA is a nonprofit fellowship of society of men and women whose drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. This is the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind, give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that
we can follow them in our daily lives.
The most important thing about them is
they work.
They work. So, what would you like to say about that?
Simple. Give yourself a break. Like definitely give yourself a break, because we talk about the desire, we talk about the willingness, we talk about the ability to let go. And sometimes being here will allow us to stay stuck. But we try to get from here to get to our hearts and move forward. So the willingness to do something different, I talked about it earlier, you have to have a willingness and a definite desire to actually do something different and want to get up off your ass and say, hey, stopping that. You done tried this. You done tried this, right? Now it's time to do something different and join this new way of life.
Right.
Called Narcotics Anonymous, and hopefully with joining this new way of life, you're able to see yourself in a different set of lens. When I talk to people about it all the time, when we're continue wearing our bifocals or those glasses that we've been wearing for so long, you're so accustomed to what that looks like. Now it's time to take those off and put on something different. I also tell people that if it does not work, if it does not serve you, why continue to stay on that wheel?
Right.
Self-deprecating thoughts, all that other stuff. I'm not good enough. I won't get Narcotics Anonymous because Narcotics Anonymous doesn't get me. You don't know because you haven't had the willingness to try it yet.
Try it. Right. So my favorite part about this, I have a few favorite parts in just the first paragraph alone. It says that there's only one requirement for membership: the desire to stop using. I love that. Love that, because you don't have to know anything about recovery. You don't have to pay any dues. You don't have to do anything, believe in anything, stop doing anything. They didn't even say you have to stop doing drugs. They never said that. All they said is you have to want to stop, have a desire to stop. And that was amazing to me.
Yep.
The fact that they are always give yourself a break, put the fat down, pick up a feather, just take it easy a little bit.
Tell you that?
Yeah, he tells me that all the time. But it's good for somebody like me because, one, I'm very judgmental to others, but I'm more judgmental on myself.
That's right.
More than anybody.
Well, they do say that we're our worst critics.
I am my worst. I'm my biggest fan, but I am also my worst critic. It's the complete abstinence from all drugs, which is really why this program really works for me. You talked about earlier about how you still have those thoughts about, using and not using, but just having a drink here and there or whatever it is, whatever. But I think we all have those things.
Absolutely.
Thoughts aren't desires, and desires aren't actions. So, it's going to happen. And they always say that if an addict is not using, that's a miracle because you're doing the opposite of what you are supposed to be doing. So
Correct.
Those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But I did want to touch the fact that, there are a lot of things out here, and that I could have tried, like being California sober, for one. Like, that is this new huge thing that's going on. Everybody's talking about being Cali sober, just a little weed and just a little wine, which is fine for those who can do it.
Man.
But for this addict, I can't. I've tried that. I tried drinking really quickly. I was at my sister's baby sonogram thing, and they were serving drinks, and my brother-in-law offered me a drink, so I was kind of pushing him. I was like, nah, but I eventually ended up started drinking that night, and I started to go, I was on my way going home, and I told my mom, I was like, I wanted some weed now. Like, can I have some weed? Some money to get some weed. She gave me some money. I went and go brought some weed. I got home, and like, I still having this like intense feeling of like, this is not enough. Like, I want something else. So I decided to lay my ass down and go to sleep. And I woke up to like 40 missed phone calls from some number I didn't even know. And it was this guy outside, and he was like, hey, I've been trying to come over. I don't know how I got over here, but I'm here. I'm outside, and da 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 da. And he was like, I got some stuff. You want to party? And I was like, yeah. And from there, it went on like a huge, like, out of my mind drug run, and ended up in that last story that I was telling you about with begging for the suicide attempt. So I know that taking a sip of alcohol, smoking a weed joint is not going to like subside anything. It's not going to do that for me. If anything, like the literature says, it releases my addiction all over again, and I'm back from where I started from, or worse.
Right, because you have to look at it like, because the moment, because with other people, just like you say, for this addict, right? People can tolerate that. They can tolerate to have a sip of wine and put it down, right? This addict, like I talked about earlier, this addict here, I can't do just a sip of anything. I was never one to do a sip of anything, and I was never one to drink out of a glass or like a cup. I needed a straight bottle. And I do know, for me, just like you said, once you wake the beast up, the beast is well and alive. We have to be mindful that the disease is already in us, and all we're just doing is arresting it.
Right.
Like we're literally taking that disease and putting handcuffs on it. But the moment where we pick up, or we even have those thoughts, just like you said, thoughts are not desires, desires are not actions, right? And if you don't pick it up, then you don't have an action. My sponsor, my second sponsor used to always say, it's just a dream, honey. You didn't pick it up, you live to see another day.
My good friend always tells me, she says, no feelings are final.
Correct. So also understand that once you wake the beast up, once you wake the enemy up, once you wake the desire to continue to use or whatever it is, then you have a problem. Because now someone needs to contain it, because unfortunately you can't contain it right now.
And
the only way that you can contain it is by locking itself down.
Okay, so I think this was a great video. Thank you, Lamar, so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Bye, you guys. I'm sorry, I am at work, so don't mind me if I keep looking back, because I'm sitting in front of my door right now and making sure nobody can push me over.
We made it. We finally out of here. This has been Zen Quinn and LJ.
LJ.
With Road to Recovery. You guys have a great day. All right.
Bye.